Hello, and welcome to the NFL Contest Show. I'm your host, Jesse Flynn. It's week 8 of the NFL season. Week 7's one I'd like to forget. Went 1-4 last week. It was just a terrible showing by me. It's been a rough last couple of weeks. Got to get back on the positive side. So we're going to be looking to wipe the slate clean. Right now I'm sitting at 23, 11, and 1, so 22.5 points in the contest. Really need to be sitting at 30 points by the end of week 9. So let's see if I can't find some winners this week and get a 5-0 for week 8. Let's go into this week's games and see which ones I like. So the first game that I like is the New Orleans Saints +5 at home taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just like the fact that this is a home game for the Saints. It's a division game, a team that they beat twice last year, and they still got some revenge on their mind from that playoff loss against Tampa Bay last year. We got Jameis Winston going for the Saints at quarterback. He wasn't there last year, but I think that he's going to be motivated to go up against his former team. I really like the way this Saints defense plays against Tampa Bay. Lattimore's really been good against Evans. It looks like Antonio Brown's going to be out for the Bucs, and Rob Gronkowski is a question mark. So not sure if Tom Brady's going to have all of his weapons. But what we've seen the last few games is that hasn't stopped him against some of the lesser defenses. But now they're going up against the Saints, who have one of the better pass rushing off or defensive lines. They should be able to get pressure on Brady. We know that when he gets pressure up the middle, it really affects his throwing lanes. He doesn't like to stand in the pocket and take hits. At 44 years old, I don't blame him. And I just think that the actual being at home for the Saints, though it wasn't much of a benefit the first game they played there, I think this week home field advantage is going to be enough. It's going to keep this team invested in the game. They're going to stay motivated for 60 minutes. And I just like the way it works out for the Saints. They're getting 5 points at home. This line is now moved down to 4. So it looks like there's some big money coming in on the New Orleans Saints side. And with a home dog, 5 points seems like too much for me. So my first pick is the New Orleans Saints +5. The second game that I like is the New England Patriots +5 heading out to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. This is a New England team that's starting to show that they're getting better as the season progresses. It looks like Mac Jones is really starting to find his way in the New England offense. And the defense for New England has played well. Yes, they've played lesser opponents than the one they're about to go up against in LA. But let's not forget that this LA team lost 45-0 to New England last year. So we know that Bill Belichick is able to create a defensive scheme to go up against this loaded LA Chargers offense. We've seen Justin Herbert have, weeks where he just looks like he's the next great quarterback, and then there's weeks where he kind of struggles, like against Baltimore. And I think the New England Patriots defense is going to use a very similar game plan that the Baltimore Ravens used, and try to load up the front of the front line of the defense and confuse him with different schemes and different blitzing packages to not give Justin Herbert pre-snap reads and allow him to predetermine his, where he's going to go with the ball. They started to have some regression in their third and fourth down conversions, against Baltimore. I think that may continue, and they still struggle in the red zone. The Chargers, they're still not converting their red zone opportunities into touchdowns, and that's very concerning to me. You know that Bill Belichick's going to have his defense ready to play, and he should be able to scheme up a rushing attack that mitigates what Mac Jones has to do in order to win this game. He's going to muddy this game up, keep it low scoring, and try to win it in the end. That's how Bill Belichick likes to play these games, and I think they should be successful. And with it being 5 points, I have this game rated as more of a 3-point game. So give me the New England Patriots +5. So the third game that I like is the Minnesota Vikings +1.5 at home, taking on the Dallas Cowboys. So it looks like Dak Prescott may not play, and that's what I'm basing this bet on. And the line shifted completely in the other direction now. It looks like Dallas at a lot of places is sitting at +3, which is a real indication by the sports books that they don't expect Dak to play. And let's not forget, this Dallas Cowboys team is 6-0 against the spread. That type of run against the spread, it doesn't last for an entire season. And this just looks like the perfect spot for the Minnesota Vikings to steal one at home against a very talented Dallas team that's going to be missing one of their key components on offense. Yes, they'll still be able to run the ball against Minnesota, but we know Zimmer is going to have his defense ready to play. They've gotten a lot better as the season progressed, and they're really getting after the quarterback. I believe they're one of the top 5 teams in sacks. And now you're asking Cooper Rush, the backup quarterback, to come in with limited reps leading up to this game and take on a Minnesota Vikings team that's really starting to round itself into a very competent defense. On the other side of the ball, we know Kirk Cousins hasn't been very well in primetime games, but he's got a loaded group of offensive weapons. Jefferson, Thielen, Cook is back and healthy. They've got Madison. I just think it's going to be too much for this Dallas Cowboys defense that's really survived on the takeaway. They're one of the best teams at getting turnovers, but as we know, that's a very random thing. Turnovers are not predictable, and they tend to regress back to the mean over time. Kirk Cousins has been very good at protecting the ball this year. We know that Dalvin Cook and Madison aren't fumble prone, so I just don't think that Dallas is going to get those cheap points that they've gotten in their previous games with defensive scores and special team plays. And I just think that this sets up for Dallas to lose this game, to finally lose a game against the spread. And, they're leading in the NFC East by a wide margin. So there's really no point in them risking Dak's long-term health to try to win this game when they've all but secured the NFC East and will still have plenty of time to potentially, win the NFC home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So I just think that this game is one of those where Dallas is going to be extra cautious with Dak. They're not going to play their starting quarterback, which really limits their offense's productivity. And I think this is a game where Minnesota gets right. They've got to try to do something to stay in the mix with the way the Green Bay Packers are playing right now. Otherwise, they're just going to fall right out of the playoff picture altogether. So for my third pick, give me the Minnesota Vikings +1.5. So my fourth pick is the Tennessee Titans +2.5, going out to Indianapolis to take on their division rival, Indianapolis Colts. Tennessee Titans have been playing outstanding football the last few weeks. And all I've been hearing on all the podcasts that I listen to and to all the other handicappers that I watch and listen to is that they're due for a regression. They're due for a regression. And if that's the only reason you can give me to not take the Titans against the Colts, that's not enough for me. I think they're playing outstanding football. I think Mike Vrabel's got them believing that they are the best team in their division. They've already beaten this Colts team once already, and I think they're going to go in. They're going to be motivated knowing that if they win this game, they all but guarantee themselves the AFC South division and really set themselves up well for a potential bye week leading up into the playoffs. I do not trust Carson Wentz. He showed that he's still prone to making bonehead decisions like he did last week against the 49ers with that terrible shovel pass interception that he threw. And I just think that he's been leaning pretty heavily on this defense. The Colts, they do have a pretty good defense. They've got a pretty good running game as well. But I think Tennessee's defense has been playing much better than they did earlier in the season. We've seen that they've been able to get after the quarterback. We know that Carson Wentz, when he's under pressure, he will make mistakes. And I just don't trust him. I don't trust putting my money on Carson Wentz until he shows that he won't make those type of terrible decisions. Meanwhile, we've got Derrick Henry for the Tennessee Titans playing at an MVP level. Looks like they won't have Julio Jones this week, but I don't think that's as much of a problem as many people might make it out to be. Yes, would it be better if he was in there? Certainly, but they've played a few games without him. They played most of last week's game without him, and I just think the offense is already set up to, they've got A.J. Brown, they've got some other wide receiver and tight end options, so, Julio Jones being out isn't as much of a factor as many people might believe it is, and I just don't think that basing my bet on a team that's playing so well that they've got to regress. I'm just not buying into it. I believe the Titans are one of the better teams in the NFL. I bet them preseason at 40-1 to win the Super Bowl, so I have about 20,000 reasons to think that they might make the Super Bowl and win it. And I just think that they're the better team in this situation. And now you're giving me 2.5 points in this game when I think they're going to win it outright. And I've actually placed a bet on them at plus, I believe it's 150 money line to win this game. So for my fourth pick, I'm going to go with the dog. Give me the Tennessee Titans plus 2.5. So my fifth pick for Week 8 of the NFL contest is the San Francisco 49ers -4 heading out to Chi-Town to take on the Chicago Bears. This looks like a good spot for the San Francisco's to get the 49ers to get right. Looks like Chicago's going to be without several of their key defensive players, including Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, and their defensive back Gibson. So I just think there's just too many question marks on the defensive side of the ball for Chicago. And we also know it looks like Matt Nagy, the head coach, is going to be out for the Chicago Bears with a positive COVID test. Now, I don't know how much of a negative that might be for the team. That might actually be a plus for them. But I just don't think that they're not ready to take on the 49ers. We've seen the 49ers. They don't play well at home, but they play really well on the road. For some reason, it just seems like Shanahan and this team, whenever they're on the road, they just come together as a unit and play above their level. And I just think that this is going to be the game that they're going to get right. They really lost a tough game against Indianapolis last week in that monsoon. I certainly think the weather had a lot to do with that. There was a lot of turnovers in that game. I don't expect to see the same type of sloppiness we saw last week. Meanwhile, you still got Justin Fields, rookie quarterback, going up against a very, very good front seven for San Francisco. The secondary's been banged up for the 49ers, but they're playing okay, and I just don't think that Justin Fields is the type of quarterback that's really going to expose the San Francisco secondary. Meanwhile, we know that San Francisco can run the ball. Kyle Shanahan's going to have an offensive game plan. We've seen them. They're able to use Deebo Samuel in the run game, the passing game, and I think they're going to be able to do enough to win this game. I don't trust Chicago at home. I don't think Justin Fields is at the level that he may progress to. I think he's going to be a decent quarterback moving forward, but I don't think he's in a very good system right now. I think Chicago is going to have to look into a new coaching staff moving forward. I don't trust them. I don't think they're very good. And again, I think that the defense for Chicago, with all the players that they're missing this week, it just sets up for San Francisco to get back on the winning side and pull off the win on the road. So give me San Francisco -4. So those are my 5 picks for Week 8. Sorry that the video's so late. I've been busy all week and really was having a hard time trying to decide on which 5 games I wanted to go with this week because there's so many interesting matchups and injury news that we had to deal with this week. But hopefully we'll be able to get back on the positive side, put together a 5-0 week, and get back moving towards that $1 million first place prize. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. I hope everybody makes a lot of money this week. Let's enjoy these Week 8 games, and thanks for watching.